Have you ever had that feeling, that really intense urge to be, truly seen, properly understood? But then at the same time, there's this kind of paralyzing fear, this self-doubt that just grabs you, even when, on the outside, you're actually doing okay, maybe even achieving a lot.
Oh, absolutely. It's such a common human thing, isn't it? That tension.
Right, that pull between wanting deep connection and just wanting to protect yourself. Well, welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are really aiming for a human perspective as we get into Brené Brown's really quite transformative book, Daring Greatly.
It really is.
Our mission here, for you listening, is for you to fully grasp its core message from that human angle. Because this book, it's not just about abstract ideas. It really digs into the most universal human feelings and experiences, lays them right out there.
Yeah, and what's so good about her work, I think, is how she manages to blend, solid academic research, decades of it, with stories that are just so relatable, everyday stuff.
A powerful mix.
It really is. It gives you these insights into courage, vulnerability, shame, connection, all the big ones.
So the big question we're sort of circling around today is, what does it actually mean to dare greatly? Especially when, let's be honest, it often feels a whole lot safer just staying on the sidelines. Let's get into that arena.
Okay, so when Brené Brown talks about daring greatly, she's really drawing on that famous Theodore Roosevelt quote, "The man in the arena."
That's the one.
And the point isn't about, winning or losing. It's more about the courage it takes just to show up, to be all in, to actually let yourself be seen.
Yeah.
Whether that's in a new relationship, maybe a really tough conversation you need to have, or some creative thing you're putting out there. It's about being willing to get your face marred by dust and sweat and blood because you're in it. You're trying.
And Brown herself, her own story, is a great example of this whole journey, right? She talks about coming from this lock and load Texas background.
Right.
And she admits she spent years trying to outrun and outsmart vulnerability, putting up these walls, wearing different suits of armor, as she calls them.
Exactly. The good girl, the activist, the corporate climber, all these ways to keep people at a distance. But then her research, her work in social work, it sort of forced her to see things differently.
How so?
Well, she realized her job wasn't about fixing people. It was about leaning in to the discomfort, theirs and hers. And then she had her own midlife unraveling, as she puts it.
Yes.
Where she had to face the fact that just understanding vulnerability intellectually wasn't the same as actually living it. Big difference.
Huge difference. And out of all that personal struggle in her research came this idea of wholehearted living, which at its heart is this really radical idea, I think, that you are already enough, just as you are.
Which is so hard for us to grasp sometimes.
It really is. It means living your life, not trying to constantly prove your worth, but from this deep sense of worthiness. It's about finding the courage, the compassion, the connection to wake up and honestly believe, okay, no matter what I get done today or how much is left undone, I am enough.
And vulnerability is absolutely central to achieving that. She makes it so clear. After all that research, 12 years.
12 years.
Yeah, she found vulnerability wasn't just, part of a meaningful life. It is the core, the heart, the center. It just kept coming up again and again as the most important thing.
Isn't it funny, though, how we look at vulnerability in other people? Like when someone else shares something raw, their fears or struggles.
Yeah.
We often see that as incredibly brave, don't we? Courageous.
Totally. We admire it.
But then when it's us, when it's our own vulnerability,
Yeah.
we're terrified.
Yeah.
We see it as weakness, inadequacy.
It's a massive paradox. We love seeing raw truth and openness in others, but we absolutely dread showing it ourselves.
Yeah.
I want you to be vulnerable, but please don't ask me to be.
Exactly.
And that paradox, it ties directly into how we build trust or how we fail to. Brown uses this great metaphor. Trust is like a marble collection.
Yeah.
Not built with one big heroic act. It's built in all these tiny everyday moments. She calls them sliding door moments.
Sliding door moments, like small choices.
Exactly. Those little choices where you can either connect with someone or turn away, lean in or pull back. Every time you choose to show up, be present, engage, you add a marble to the jar.
Ah, okay, I get it.
And the opposite is also true. Disengagement, turning away, not being present. It slowly takes marbles out one by one. It shows how trust really grows from vulnerability over time, and it needs constant work, constant attention.
That really challenges that whole cultural myth of the lone wolf, doesn't it? The idea that we can just go it alone.
Oh, completely. We glorify that idea. You know, like that old Whitesnake song, Here I Go Again on My Own.
Yeah.
But Brown's research just blows that apart. She shows that vulnerability and courage are contagious.
Contagious. How so?
She tells this story about Clinton, a German managing director. Apparently he was quite controlling, kind of stifling his team. But instead of just carrying on, he did something really brave. At a big meeting, he stood up, admitted his failings, admitted how his style was hurting things, and actually asked his top managers for help.
Well, that takes guts. In front of everyone.
Huge guts. And guess what happened? The team didn't just breathe a sigh of relief. They started innovating. They flourished. They ended up outperforming bigger competitors.
Seriously?
Yeah. It just shows that asking for help, showing that vulnerability, it's often the first and greatest dare we can take. It can unlock so much potential.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit and talk about something that probably affects every single person listening. Shame.
The big one.
Brown has this powerful line. Shame derives its power from being unspeakable.
Yes, it hates the light.
It thrives in silence, in secret. If we could just find the words, name it, talk about it, it sort of cuts its power off.
Yeah.
It hates having words wrapped around it.
That reminds me of James Pennebaker's research, with trauma survivors.
Yeah, tell me more.
He found that just the act of writing about traumatic experiences, putting words to them, could be incredibly healing. It even improved physical health markers, likely by lowering stress. Naming it helps.
So naming it is key. But how do we know if it's shame we're feeling? Or maybe something like guilt? People confuse those.
All the time. And the difference is absolutely critical. Shame says, I am bad. It attacks your core identity.
Right. It's about who you are.
Exactly. Guilt, though, says, I did something bad. It focuses on behavior.
Oh, that makes sense.
And guilt, while it feels uncomfortable, it can actually be helpful. It can motivate us to take responsibility, make amends, change our behavior. Shame, on the other hand, is just destructive.
How so?
Well, Brown's research links it strongly to things like addiction, violence, depression, eating disorders, bullying. The list goes on. She found absolutely no data to support that shame is a helpful compass for good behavior. Zero. If anything, it often drives the bad behavior.
Wow. Okay. So shame isn't helpful. And you're saying everyone feels it, not just people who've been through major trauma.
Everyone. Shame is something we all experience. It just shows up in different areas. Brown actually identified 12 common shame categories.
Like what?
Things like appearance, money, parenting, how we feel about sex, aging, being stereotyped. Really common stuff.
Okay, so if it's universal and destructive, what do we do? How do we fight back?
Well, Brown talks about building shame resilience. Notice she doesn't say shame resistance. You can't just block it out.
Right, resilience, like bouncing back.
Exactly, and it has 4 parts. Think of it like training to deal with those inner shame gremlins.
Gremlin ninja warrior training. I like it. What are the parts?
Okay, first, recognizing shame. Just learning to know what it feels like for you, what your triggers are.
Got it. Awareness.
Second, practicing critical awareness. Basically, reality checking the messages that fuel the shame. Are they true?
Yeah.
Where are they coming from?
Questioning it.
Third, reaching out. This is huge. Sharing your story with someone you trust, someone who can offer empathy. That moment when someone says, me too, or I get it, it's incredibly powerful, breaks the isolation.
Connection. Makes sense.
And fourth, speaking shame. Actually putting words to how you feel and what you need. Saying it out loud diffuses its power.
Recognize it, reality check it, reach out, speak it.
That's the core of shame resilience.
Now, you mentioned shame showing up differently. Does it look different for men and women?
It often does, based on the cultural messages we get. For women, Brown talks a lot about these double binds.
Double binds, like catch-22s.
Exactly. Like, you're expected to be perfect, but don't make a fuss about it. Or don't be too emotional, but definitely don't be cold or detached.
Impossible standards.
Totally. And there are all these unspoken worthiness prerequisites tied to being, nice, thin, modest, good at home stuff, always looking presentable.
It's exhausting just listing them.
Great. And Brown shares her own experiences with this, getting attacked online for her weight, or for showing emotion, people saying things like, less research, more Botox. It shows how public the shaming can be for women.
Ouch. And for men, what's the core shame message there?
It's often simpler, but maybe even more rigid. Do not be perceived as weak. Period.
The strong, silent type myth.
Pretty much. Brown uses the Wizard of Oz metaphor, men feeling like they have to hide behind this curtain, projecting a great and powerful image even to the people closest to them.
Why? What are they afraid of?
Often it's the fear of disappointing others, particularly women. Fear of showing vulnerability and being met with disgust or rejection.
That's heavy.
Yeah. She shares a story from a therapist who said, frankly, sex is terrifying for most men. Not just the performance aspect, but the sheer vulnerability of potential rejection, which can lead to numbing behaviors like excessive porn use to avoid that feeling.
So it all comes back to hiding perceived weakness, even if it cost real connection.
Pretty much. The path forward for everyone really involves having those honest, loving conversations that require major vulnerability. It's tough work.
But necessary. She says there is no intimacy without vulnerability.
That's the bottom line. The goal has to be moving towards shame-free fighting and blame-free living.
This ties into something bigger too, doesn't it? This feeling of not being enough, not having enough.
Absolutely. The never enough problem. Lynn Twist calls it the culture of scarcity.
Scarcity culture.
Yeah, that pervasive feeling that there just isn't enough to go around. Not enough time, money, sleep, love, you name it. We wake up feeling like we're already behind, already lacking.
I recognize that feeling.
Most of us do. And the scarcity mindset, it fuels constant comparison, doesn't it? We're always measuring ourselves against others, assessing what we have, what they have, what we don't have. It breeds jealousy, greed, prejudice.
So if we're stuck in scarcity, what's the way out? Just trying to get more stuff,
Yeah.
more abundance.
Interestingly, no. Brown argues the antidote to scarcity isn't just abundance, it's
Enough.
enough. Yeah, that deep internal sense of sufficiency. Believing you are enough and maybe what you have is enough right now. That feeling of enoughness is what allows us to start taking off the armor.
Okay, so believing we're enough is the key to taking off the armor. Let's talk about that vulnerability armory. What are the main shields we use to protect ourselves?
Right, because we all have them. Brown says that core belief, I am enough, is the main strategy. It helps us build worthiness, set boundaries, and actually engage with life.
Yeah.
But yeah, we carry shields. She highlights a few really common ones.
Okay, what's the first?
Foreboding joy.
Foreboding joy. That sounds weird.
It does. It's that thing where you're in a moment of pure happiness, real joy, and suddenly your mind just leaps to disaster.
Oh, I know that. Like, things are too good, something bad must be about to happen.
Exactly. You rehearse tragedy to try and beat vulnerability to the punch. Like, if you prepare for the worst, it won't hurt as much.
So what's the daring greatly strategy for that? How do you stop doing it?
It's actually really simple but powerful. Practice gratitude actively. In that moment when the dread creeps in, stop and say out loud or to yourself, I'm feeling really vulnerable right now and I'm so grateful for, and name the thing you're enjoying.
So acknowledge the vulnerability, but lean into the gratitude.
Precisely. It builds resilience, cultivates hope, and stops you from taking that test drive for despair, as she calls it. It anchors you in the present joy. And it's funny, we chase these huge, extraordinary moments, right? But people who've faced real loss, they often say they miss the ordinary things most. Leaning into ordinary joy, even when it feels vulnerable, makes us stronger.
Okay, shield number 2.
Perfectionism.
Ah, the classic. But isn't striving for excellence good?
Healthy striving is good. Perfectionism isn't that. Brown defines it as a defensive move. It's not about self-improvement. It's about trying to earn approval and avoid blame, judgment, and shame.
So it's driven by fear.
Totally.
Yeah.
She calls it a 20-ton shield. We think it protects us, but it actually just keeps us from being truly seen. It's a constant hustle for worthiness based on what I accomplish and how well I accomplish it.
And it doesn't even work.
Worse than that, it actually hinders achievement. It's linked to anxiety, depression, addiction. It's basically a form of shame itself.
Oof. Okay, so how do we counter perfectionism?
Appreciate the beauty of cracks. Embrace self-compassion. Own your whole story, including the messy bits. Remember Voltaire. Don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. And Leonard Cohen's line is perfect here, too. There's a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. Perfectionism tries to seal the cracks, but the cracks are where life happens.
Makes sense. What's the third common shield?
Numbing.
Numbing. Like checking out.
Yeah. Basically embracing anything that deadens the pain of discomfort and pain. It's usually driven by shame, anxiety, or that feeling of disconnection.
What kind of things count as numbing? Is it just like drugs or alcohol?
It can be, but it's way broader than that. It could be overeating, compulsive shopping, staying constantly busy, excessive planning, doom scrolling. Brown admits her own numbing go-tos were things like banana bread, chips and salsa, checking email constantly, even worrying.
Huh. Worrying is numbing.
Yeah, if it stops you from feeling deeper, harder emotions.
Yeah.
Anything that helps you take the edge off repeatedly can become a numbing strategy.
Okay, so what's the counter strategy here?
Setting boundaries is a big one. Finding sources of true comfort, not just temporary relief. And cultivating your spirit. Practically, it means learning to actually feel your feelings, noticing your go-to numbing behaviors without judgment, and trying to lean into the discomfort of hard emotions instead of immediately trying to escape them.
That sounds hard.
It is hard. It also involves saying enough sometimes and focusing on real human connection, which he calls I-you relationships, based on empathy rather than IT relationships, where we treat people or even ourselves like objects to be managed or fixed.
Okay, one more shield you mentioned was cynicism and cool.
Yeah, that pervasive kind of disengagement. You see it a lot in teenagers, right? That too cool to care vibe.
Definitely. Like showing enthusiasm is somehow naive or lame.
Exactly. It acts like an invisibility cloak. If you pretend not to care, you can't get hurt, you can't fail, you can't look uncool.
But you also don't really connect or engage.
Precisely. So the strategy here is like walking a tightrope. You practice shame resilience, you reality check cynicism, you stay open, but you also maintain boundaries. A key part is knowing whose opinions really matter.
Well, worthless.
Yeah, your list of people who love you, not despite your imperfections, but including them. Your stretch mark friends, as Brown calls them. The idea is not to trade the opinions of those people for the approval of strangers, haters, or the cool kids.
Okay, let's zoom out a bit. Brown talks about mind the gap. What's that about? It sounds like the London Underground warning.
It is. She uses that image, pay attention to the space between the platform and the train, and applies it brilliantly to groups. Families, workplaces, schools, any system.
How does it apply?
Well, in any group, you have your strategy, like what you want to achieve, your goals, and then you have your culture, which is basically who you are as a group, the way we do things around here.
Right, strategy versus culture.
And Brand argues really strongly that the culture, the who we are part, is at least as important, if not more important, than the strategy.
Okay, so where's the gap?
The gap is often what she calls the disengagement divide. It's the space between our stated values, our aspirational values, what we say we believe or want to do, and our practiced values, what we actually do, how we actually behave.
Ah, the say-do gap.
Exactly. And that gap breeds disconnection and disengagement. When shame becomes the norm in a system, whether it's a family where mistakes aren't tolerated or a workplace that uses public shaming, it absolutely kills engagement, innovation, and trust.
It's like termites in a house, she says.
Yeah, hidden maybe, but constantly eating away at the foundations until things start to crumble. You see this disengagement everywhere, politics, workplaces, even families.
So how do we close that gap? How do we re-engage people in these systems?
The key, she argues, is sitting on the same side of the table, especially when it comes to feedback or addressing problems.
What does that look like?
It means vulnerability is at the heart of it. Good leaders, good parents, they don't position themselves across from you like judges. They sit with you. They focus on growth, not just blame. They acknowledge their own part in the problem. They model openness.
So it's about owning your part.
Yes. Being willing to say, hey, I'm part of this too, let's figure it out together. It's about being in the arena with people, stumbling together, and daring greatly together.
This feels especially important when we think about parenting. You mentioned it earlier, it's such a shame and judgment minefield.
Oh, totally. Because there's so much uncertainty in parenting. Right. And we crave certainty. So often that anxiety comes out as judgment or criticism of other parents, trying to feel like we have the answers.
Yeah, you see that a lot.
But Brown's core message to parents is profound. We can't give our children what we don't have. Meaning, if we want our kids to be wholehearted, to feel worthy, to be brave and resilient, we have to model that ourselves. We have to show them us taking off our armor, being vulnerable, letting ourselves be seen, messing up and trying again.
So it starts with us.
It has to. And it also means consciously challenging those worthiness prerequisites. We might accidentally pass on, the idea that their worth depends on their grades or their achievements or being popular.
Right. How do we do that?
By constantly reinforcing that their essential worthiness is not on the table, it's inherent. It means separating their worth from their behavior. So instead of saying you are bad, we say you are a good kid who made a bad choice. That distinction is everything for a child's sense of self.
One of the most powerful parenting insights for me was this idea that hope is a function of struggle.
Oh, yes, that's huge.
It feels so counterintuitive. We want to protect our kids from struggle.
Of course we do, but Brown argues that if we want them to develop real hope, not just wishful thinking, but true gritty hope and tenacity and resilience, we have to let them struggle sometimes. We can't always rescue them.
She tells that story about her daughter Ellen at the swim meet, right?
Yeah, the swimming race. Ellen was terrified, totally overwhelmed, wanted to quit.
And instead of letting her or pushing her to win,
Brown just changed the goal. She said the goal isn't to win or even swim well. The goal is just to show up and get wet. That's it. Just be brave enough to get in the pool.
and she did it.
She did. She swam, apparently not very fast, but she finished. And she got out of the pool beaming, saying, I showed up and I got wet. I was brave.
Wow. Yeah, that really hits home. It's about the courage to engage, not just the outcome. It's like the whole book summed up in that moment.
It really is. It captures the spirit of her wholehearted parenting manifesto, too, teaching kids they are loved, lovable, worthy, and how to practice courage and self-compassion.
So as we kind of bring this all together, we circle back to that man in the arena. Daring greatly means getting in there, risking, stumbling, maybe failing,
Right.
but doing it anyway.
It's about becoming real, like in The Velveteen Rabbit.
Oh, I love that part. Explain that connection.
Well, the Skin Horse tells the Velveteen Rabbit that becoming real isn't easy. It takes a long time. It often hurts. You get worn out. But it happens when you're loved and when you allow yourself to be vulnerable enough to be loved, flaws and all. That's daring greatly.
That's beautiful. So the core message really is,
If we're going to find our way out of shame and back to each other, vulnerability is the path and courage is the light. That's Brown's thesis.
it takes real bravery, doesn't it? To put down all those lists society gives us about who we're supposed to be.
Huge bravery to just decide to love ourselves and support each other in this messy, imperfect, ongoing process of becoming real. That, she argues, is the greatest dare of all.
So maybe the final thought for you, listening right now, is this. Take a moment and think. In what areas of your life are you maybe hiding behind some armor right now? And what's one small, maybe even tiny, courageous step you could take today? Just to get wet, to dare greatly, even in a small way. Well, that brings us to the end of this deep dive into Brené Brown's amazing insights in Daring Greatly. I really hope you found something valuable in our conversation today, something that maybe sparked a thought or resonated with your own experience.
We hope so, too.
If you did find value here, we'd really appreciate it if you'd hit that like button. It helps others find this content. And maybe share it with someone you think might benefit from hearing about vulnerability, shame, and courage.
Yeah, definitely. And we'd love to hear from you, too. Leave a comment below, share your own thoughts, or maybe an experience you've had with daring greatly or dealing with shame. We do read them.
We absolutely do. Join us next time for another deep dive into a fascinating topic. Until then, be kind to yourselves and dare greatly.